He had been running this route for 6 weeks, the same 4-mile loop he had run as a city councilman from his apartment on the north side.
Don't you know
Now
how
run as a
dangerous
mayor
this
from the
is?
same apartment because he had not moved and did not intend to until the lease ended in April. The route took him down Meridian, across the park, up 4th Street, left on Elm, and back north. He knew every block of it. He had never stopped at the corner of Elm and Fourth. It was a Tuesday in March, the first genuinely mild morning after a long winter, and he was running well, the specific easy pace of a body that has found its rhythm and wants to maintain it, when he saw her. The orange vest was visible from half a block away, the way safety vests are designed to be visible, and he registered it the way he registered most things on this route, as a feature of the landscape, noted and passed. He did not pass it. He did not know why he stopped. He told his chief of staff later that it was the budget review, that he had been thinking about the crossing guard line items that morning before his run and had simply stopped out of professional curiosity to see what the work actually looked like. That was partially true. The fuller truth, which he arrived at over the following weeks, was that something in the way she moved made him stop. The specific economy and purpose of someone doing something they know exactly how to do in a place they have made entirely their own. He stopped on the sidewalk. He pulled his earbuds from his neck. He watched. The light was red. 3 children were at the curb, 2 small ones, perhaps 6 and 7, and a taller one who had the look of a 4th or 5th grader, old enough to think she did not need a crossing guard, and young enough to be wrong about it. Betty stepped to the edge of the crosswalk. She looked left, looked right, confirmed the light and the traffic. Then she raised her stop sign and stepped into the street. She said something to the taller child as she passed, something he could not hear at half a block's distance. The child looked at her. Then the child smiled in the specific way children smile when an adult has said something that was both true and unexpected. They crossed. She walked them to the other side. She said something to the 2 smaller ones that made the younger one laugh. Then she walked back to her corner. The light changed to green. Cars moved through. She stood at her corner with her stop sign at her side and watched the traffic with the patient attention of someone who knows that the next child could appear from any direction at any moment and has learned over 18 years that constant attention is not exhausting if you understand it as care rather than vigilance. Before we continue, if you believe that the people who show up at the same corner every morning for 18 years are holding the city together in ways the budget will never capture, please like this video, subscribe to Stillwater's Stories, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. Colin stayed for the second light cycle. A woman arrived at the corner with a stroller and a 4-year-old who did not want to hold her hand. Betty stepped to them immediately, not intrusively, just present, positioning herself on the outside of the 4-year-old with the practiced ease of someone who has handled 10,000 versions of this specific situation. She said something to the 4-year-old. The 4-year-old looked at her. The 4-year-old took his mother's hand. Colin watched this. He thought about the budget document on his desk. 14 positions, $476,000, existing traffic infrastructure, safety metrics, cost-benefit analysis. He thought about the 14 intersections on that list, about whether each of them had someone who knew how to say the specific thing to a 4-year-old who did not want to hold his mother's hand. A boy arrived at the corner alone, perhaps 8 years old, backpack too large for his frame, the specific look of a child who is always slightly late and always moving at maximum speed to compensate. Betty said his name before he reached the curb. He stopped. He looked at her. She said something, pointing at his backpack, the strap, apparently, which had come undone. He swung it around, fixed it, swung it back. She held up her stop sign and walked him across. Colin stood on the sidewalk for the 3rd light cycle. A group of 5 children arrived together, a cluster of middle schoolers who had the coordinated energy of children who had been friends for years, talking over each other, laughing about something that had happened that morning, not paying any attention to the street or the light or the cars. Betty watched them arrive. She did not interrupt their conversation. She let them reach the curb, let them finish the sentence they were in the middle of, and then, with the timing of a person who has learned exactly when to speak, she said, "Okay, come on." And they came, without breaking stride, the way a group of children moves when the adult asking them to move has earned, over years, the right to be listened to without being noticed listening. He stayed through the fourth light cycle. He did not intend to stay through a fourth. He stayed because in the fourth cycle something happened that he knew he would think about for a long time. A girl arrived alone, perhaps 9 or 10, thin frame, the particular look of a child who is holding something difficult inside her and has gotten very good at carrying it. She stood at the curb. She did not look at the street. She was looking at the ground. Betty saw this in the way Betty saw everything, from the periphery, in passing, without making it obvious she had seen. She walked her across as she walked everyone across, present, steady, looking at the traffic. On the far side, she paused for a moment. She said, "You doing okay today, Marisol?" The girl looked up. Something crossed her face, the specific thing that crosses a child's face when an adult has noticed them without being asked to notice them, when they have been seen in the way that requires someone to have been paying attention for longer than that moment. She said, "I'm okay." Betty said, "All right, you know where I am if you're not." That was all. The girl went on. Betty walked back to her corner. The light changed. The morning continued. Colin stood on the sidewalk for a long time after that. He had been 38 days into the most demanding job of his life. He had been thinking in systems, budget systems, infrastructure systems, efficiency metrics, the management of a city of 400,000 people through the application of better data and smarter allocation. He had believed, going in, that the way to serve a city was to make its systems work better. He had been watching a woman serve a city for 20 minutes at one intersection, and he was not sure his systems framework had a column for what she was doing. She was not managing traffic. The traffic light managed traffic. She was doing something that no sensor, no infrastructure investment, no efficiency metric had a way to measure. She was being present. She was being the specific human presence that makes a corner feel different from a corner without her. The presence that a 4-year-old responds to. That a perpetually late 8-year-old lets fix his backpack strap. That a group of distracted middle schoolers moves for without being told. That a 9-year-old girl with something difficult inside her knows is there if she needs it. The budget document said, "Existing traffic infrastructure adequately manages pedestrian safety at these intersections." That was true. The traffic light managed pedestrian safety. Betty managed something else. And the budget document had no column for something else. He started running again. He ran the rest of his route in the particular distracted way of someone whose mind is somewhere else. He showered, he dressed, he went to the office. At 9:15, he called his chief of staff and said, "Take the crossing guard positions off the budget reduction list." She said, "All 14?" He said, "All 14. And I want to know how long each of them has been at their position. The tenured ones, anyone over 10 years, I want their names." She said, "Can I ask what changed?" He said, "I stopped at a corner this morning." He paused. "I stayed longer than I planned." She noted it and moved on, the way good chiefs of staff move on. And he moved on too, to the 9:30 briefing, the 10 o'clock call, the accumulated weight of a city's morning. But he came back to the corner of Elm and Fourth in his mind, at intervals throughout the day. To the 4-year-old taking his mother's hand, to the backpack strap, to the group of middle schoolers moving without being told, to a 9-year-old girl's face when someone said her name. He went back on a Thursday, 3 weeks later. Not on his run, deliberately, on foot, at 7:50 in the morning in civilian clothes. He stood on the same sidewalk. Betty saw him on the second light cycle. Not immediately, she was watching the traffic. She was always watching the traffic. But when she walked her next group of children back to her corner, She looked at him with her hazel eyes and held the look for a moment in the way of someone who has seen the same face twice and is placing it. She said, "You were here a few weeks ago, running." He said, "Yes." She said, "You stayed a while." He said, "I did." She said, "You're the mayor." He said, "Yes." She said, "I voted for you." He said, "Thank you." She said, "You going to tell me why you're here?" He said, "I came to tell you that I've been doing a budget review. Your position was on a list of potential cuts." She looked at him. She said, "Was." He said, "Was. It's not anymore." She said, "Because of the other morning?" He said, "Because of the other morning." She was quiet for a moment. A child arrived at the corner, the boy with the oversized backpack, slightly late as always. Betty raised her sign and walked him across without breaking the conversation, the same way she did everything, without breaking. She came back. She said, "Can I ask you something?" He said, "Yes." She said, "What did you see?" He said, "Honestly?" She said, "Please." He said, "I saw you say a girl's name, at the end. A girl who was looking at the ground." Betty said, "Marisol." He said, "You said her name and you said you'd be there if she needed you." She said, "Yes." He said, "How do you know she needed to hear that?" Betty said, "I've been watching her for 3 weeks. Something changed. I don't know what, but something changed." He said, "Did you tell anyone?" She said, "I called her mother last week. Her mother said they're going through something. She thanked me. She said Marisol had mentioned me." He stood on the sidewalk. He said, "The budget document said existing traffic infrastructure adequately manages pedestrian safety at this intersection." She said, "That's true." He said, "It doesn't have a column for Marisol." She said, "No, it wouldn't." He said, "What would you put in that column?" She thought about it. She said, 18 years of showing up, of learning their names, of knowing which ones are fine and which ones are carrying something, of being the same person at the same corner every morning so that when something changes, you can see it. She looked at the intersection, at the light cycling through its indifferent sequence. "That's what I'd put in the column, but I don't think it fits in a column." He said, "No, it doesn't." He stayed for 2 more light cycles. He watched her work. Then he said, "Thank you, Betty." She said, "Thank you for coming back." He ran his 4-mile loop that evening after work, the same route, the same turn at Elm and Fourth. The corner was empty. The afternoon crossing shift had ended at 4. The light cycled through its sequence without her. Green, yellow, red, green, yellow, red. The intersection managed pedestrian safety exactly as the budget document said it did. It was adequate. It was not the same. He ran past. He ran the rest of his loop. He went home and made dinner and read the evening briefing and thought, at intervals, about adequacy and about the things it does not account for. About a column that does not fit in a spreadsheet. About 18 years at the same corner in the rain and the snow and the heat. About a girl named Marisol and a woman who noticed when something changed. He ran the same route the next morning. He slowed at Elm and Fourth. Betty was there, orange vest, stop sign, hazel eyes already on the traffic. She did not look at him as he passed. She was watching the street. He ran on. She was working. That was the whole thing. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Stillwater's Stories for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human decisions that turn out to matter more than anyone knew. And tell us in the comments, who is the person in your community that holds everything together without anyone noticing?